Bad news, I've transmigrated into the role of the villain's wicked stepmother, destined to be tortured to death by him in the future. Good news, the villain is only 8 years old. I swear to change the little villain's perception of me and become a famously kind mother known far and wide. During dinner, I picked up the fish head with my chopsticks. Mom just loves eating fish heads. The little villain looked at the remaining chopped peppers on the plate with teary eyes. Coinciding with a heavy rainstorm, the little villain had a fever in the middle of the night, and I carried him on my back for half an hour. I cried, moved by my own actions. The little villain also cried. We clearly have a car at home. Why did you have to torture me like this? Later, the benefactor who would influence his entire life appeared, offering to take him away. The minor antagonist shook his head. My mother isn't well in the head. I have to stay and take care of her. Staying up late binge-watching dramas. I got up to use the bathroom at dawn. The moment I stood up straight, everything went black before my eyes, and I collapsed. By the time I regained consciousness, I had already transmigrated into a book. I transmigrated into this domineering CEO novel titled Pampered Love, and became the evil stepmother of the villain. The timing of my transmigration couldn't be worse. I had just slapped Lucas across the face, still shouting, "Your father is dead. Why did he leave me with such a burden like you, useless trash?" Lowering my head, the little villain was staring at me coldly, with a bright red slap mark on his face, yet those eyes showed no sign of surrender, filled with hidden resentment, not at all like the gaze an 8-year-old child should have. I shuddered and fell to my knees with a thud, taking Lucas's hand. I then slapped it against my own face with a sharp smack. "Your father passed away, and Mom is heartbroken. Not in her right mind. Don't blame me, son, let me kowtow to you." Lucas stiffened, his brow furrowing. Then, with a look of disgust, she turned and ran away. I plopped down on the ground. It's over, all over. Just moments ago, I had absorbed all the plot lines. The person I transmigrated into is Rose, the wicked stepmother of the villain Lucas. But just 1 year after marrying Lucas's father, his dad died in a car accident. From then on, Lucas seemed to live in hell every day. Rose would either beat or scold him, hurling verbal abuse at him daily. She even made him go out after school to collect garbage to earn his own tuition. She was flirting with other men at home, even right in front of Lucas. Later, she got involved with a perverted man, who turned out to be bisexual and had a particular preference for young boys, taking advantage of Rose's absence. He targeted Lucas and sexually assaulted him. When Rose found out, not only did she not report it to the police, but she also helped cover it up. From then on, Lucas underwent a drastic change in personality. Later, Lucas received help from a benefactor and broke free from Rose's control. Over a decade later, he returned with power, and his first act was to take revenge on Rose. Thinking of Rose's fate, I couldn't help but shiver. Tragic. The stepmother character's ending was just too tragic. Blinded and crippled by the villain, she ended up as a beggar on the streets, bullied and humiliated by the homeless, and ultimately starved to death in the streets. Just thinking about it makes me shudder. I turned pale and took a long time to recover. Then I lay in bed without eating or drinking, lost in thought. Until nightfall, I managed to regulate myself. I've figured it out. I still have a chance now. The villain is only 8 years old, so there's still time to improve our relationship. As long as I put in the effort, I can definitely change the original tragic ending. I sprang up energetically, ready to go and comfort the little villain. But after searching the entire house, I couldn't find him anywhere. Just then, a neighbor happened to pass by. She looked up and called out, "Rose, I just ran into Teacher Wang. She said your Lucas is still at school. Why haven't you picked him up? He's the only one left in the whole school." Bang! I stumbled backward and bumped into the table. The first blow is half the battle. When I went to pick up Lucas, he had already left the school on his own and was cornered by a few older students in the alley outside the school. "Heard you're a jinx. You killed your mom when you were born, and now you've killed your dad too. Hey, can you transfer schools? Being in the same school as you kinda scares me." "Yeah, you damn cursed loner. Better stay the hell away. I got scolded by the teacher today." "Was that your fault too?" Lucas, small in stature, was surrounded by them, his face marked with red streaks. He kept his head down, silent, as if already numb. Just as the children were about to push and shove him, I quickly stepped forward and pulled Lucas behind me. Then I raised my hand and slapped each child once. They were stunned by my attack. After all, they're just kids and still afraid of adults. I glared at them. "If you dare bully Lucas again, I'll call the police on you." The children fled in panic, shouting, "The bad woman is coming! The bad woman is coming! Hey, these little brats!" I couldn't help but take off my shoe and throw it at them, but I didn't hit a single kid, and now my shoe is missing. I was crawling on the floor looking for my shoes and called out to Lucas, "Help Mom find them, where are my shoes?" Lucas walked past me with a cold expression, heading straight home without even turning his head. From the moment I decided to become a famously kind mother, I began studying various typical cases, and started imitating them. I cooked fish for Lucas and only ate the fish head myself. When he had a fever, I carried him on my back in the middle of the night to find a doctor. Whenever I noticed Lucas's clothes were torn, I would mend them for him right away, but after mending the clothes, I lost the needle and had to buy a new one. On the way to the supermarket, I thought to myself, Lucas should be able to feel how good I am to him. At school, Lucas picked a needle out of his clothes, and his arm had already been scratched with a long cut. Blood soaked through his shirt. The female classmate sitting next to him was terrified and quickly handed him a tissue. The kind-hearted girl asked with concern, "Lucas, is your stepmother still treating you badly?" Lucas wiped the blood from his arm and said expressionlessly, "She's just come up with more ways to torment me." I thought I had been very good to Lucas, but he remained extremely guarded toward me. Sometimes I can feel him staring at me with a sinister gaze. One night, Lucas stood by my bedside. I woke up in the middle of the night and saw him, nearly scared out of my wits. Even with my usually good temper, I couldn't help but lose my cool. "What are you doing?" Lucas sneered. "No more pretending." I frowned, then I heard him say, "You must be tired from all this acting, right? All you want is my father's compensation money, don't you? Give up on that idea. Don't even think about it." I rolled my eyes. Who cares? With that, I flopped back down to sleep. After lying there for 3 seconds, I got up again. "Since I'm already awake, I might as well take you to school. I probably won't be able to get up in the morning." Lucas's temple twitched. "It's 3 a.m., I know, don't you never sleep?" Lucas looked at me, remained silent for a few seconds, then turned and walked away. I reminded him, "Close the door for Mom." Bang! He put in all his strength. That little brat. The complete reconciliation with Lucas happened in late summer. A new resident moved into the neighborhood, a refined and scholarly-looking man. I heard he's a middle school teacher. The neighbors all say he's kind-hearted, agreeing to tutor their children for free at his place after school and on weekends. When Linda next door told me about it, I wasn't impressed. No need for tutoring. My Lucas gets top grades, always ranks first in his grade. That's indeed true. Those who can play the role of a villain must be extraordinary. They must have sharp minds, no doubt. Lucas is quick-witted and ranks first in every subject. In the original story, had he had a happy childhood, he would likely have had a very bright future. Thinking of this, I felt somewhat melancholy. Linda thought I was showing off and curled her lips in disdain. "Everyone knows Lucas gets good grades, but it's not like you gave birth to him." She walked away without looking back, carrying the groceries. I said smugly, "Oh my, gaining such an excellent son for free is truly enviable." I turned my head and saw Lucas staring at me, feeling a bit embarrassed. I was about to say something to make up for it when he expressionlessly went back to his room to do his homework. That very night, Lucas went out to take out the trash and then just disappeared. I knocked on my neighbor's door, but they accused me of making a fuss. "It's only been half an hour. Maybe he went to play with a classmate." No, because I know Lucas has no friends here, and I've checked. He didn't take anything with him, so it can't be running away from home. Someone saw how anxious I was and said, "Why don't you go upstairs to Teacher Johnson's place and check? Maybe he's there," without thinking too much. I immediately went upstairs and knocked on the door. When the man opened the door, his forehead was slightly swollen and red, as if he had been hit by something, but still spoke kindly. "What's the matter? Hello, has my Lucas come to your place?" "I can't find him." "No, he hasn't," the man asked with concern. "Do you need me to help look for him?" I glanced at his forehead. "You there?" I accidentally bumped into the cabinet." "Don't trouble yourself, I'll look around first." I was pondering where Lucas might have gone, while the man nodded and was about to close the door. As if struck by inspiration, I suddenly thought of something. I raised my hand to stop the door from closing. "Mr. Johnson, may I ask, what is your full name?" Lucas was locked in a narrow storage room, his hands and feet tied, and even his mouth gagged. He threw out the trash and was forcibly gagged and taken away by a man in the hallway. Struggling to break free only left a faint wound on the man's head. The disparity in strength and size was too great. He didn't stand a chance. He could only hope that someone would come to rescue him. The neighbor aunt who noticed something was wrong, the teacher who happened to come for a home visit, the classmate who dropped by for a visit, but to his surprise, when he knocked on the door in despair, it was actually his stepmother, the woman he had always despised, who answered. The woman's voice was filled with genuine urgency, not feigned, yet she was too naive, so much so that the man easily brushed her off. Despair hadn't even had the chance to surge up again when he heard a loud crash from outside the door, accompanied by a woman's shout, "Move aside, you damn pervert, I didn't expect you to show up so soon, my son must be in your house." What was she talking about? Lucas couldn't make sense of it. Yet the woman's powerful cries of, "my son," lingered stubbornly in his mind, impossible to shake off. Snapping back to reality, Lucas struggled on the ground, making a faint movement with his body. The argument outside paused abruptly, footsteps quickly approached, and the next second, the storage room door was yanked open. Blinding light flashed into Lucas's eyes. He only saw a silhouette standing there against the light, slender, familiar, something that had once filled him with intense disgust. Yet now instinctively drew him closer. "Lucas." The woman widened her eyes and rushed over to untie his ropes, but the devilish man slowly closed the door. "Rose, stop pretending. Everyone here knows you can't stand this little burden, putting on this act. Isn't it just for me to see? Speak up. How much do you want? I've taken a fancy to your cheap son. Let me have him for a night, and I'll give you 1,000. How about it?" The woman's hand paused. Lucas's heart tightened as well. Indeed. A person's true nature is like this. It never really changes. The next second, the woman pulled out her phone and shouted into it, "Officers, did you all hear that? Come arrest this pervert now." That night, the entire building was brightly lit and noisy for a long time. The neighbors were all crying, terrified that their children might have fallen victim to that pervert before. The police were trying to hold people back. If they didn't, the pervert wouldn't even make it to the station alive. I'm busy too. Busy checking Lucas's injuries. Most of them are just superficial wounds. But, I stared at his lower body. That, Lucas flushed red. "What are you looking at? Did he take your pants off?" "Lucas, no, probably didn't have time yet." I breathed a sigh of relief. I turned to run his bathwater, only to hear him murmur very softly, "Thank you." My whole body stiffened, and I froze in place, outwardly calm, inwardly ecstatic. Heaven has eyes indeed. This 1,000-year-old little iceberg has finally melted a bit under my warmth. Since that day, my relationship with Lucas has eased. Barely, it could even be called harmonious. For his mental health education, I also took him out on weekends to do good deeds. Learn from mom how to do good deeds. I helped the elderly man cross the street and waved at Lucas on the other side. But the next second, the old man slapped my arm. "You crazy woman, I was waiting for the bus by the roadside. Why did you drag me over here?" I froze for a moment, then quickly apologized. After helping the elderly man back to his spot, I looked up and saw Lucas assisting a scavenger by pushing his tricycle. Noticing my gaze, he pressed his lips together and subtly turned his face away, avoiding my eyes. "Oh, still a bit tsundere." Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, Lucas is already in 6th grade. He can now go to and from school by himself. Before school, he even manages to cook for me. "I'm going to school. The food is on the table. Heat it up before you eat, and don't drink dirty water at home." Got it. I was curled up in the blanket, sleeping soundly, but Lucas hadn't been gone for long. The door was knocked again. I walked over to open it with sleepy eyes. "What's wrong? Did you forget your book?" But standing outside was a woman I didn't know. Though middle-aged, the woman was intellectual and elegant, dressed in designer clothes that seemed out of place here. "Hello, is this Lucas's home?" "I'm Francis," I gasped. That name instantly snapped me to attention. Francis, Lucas's benefactor. In the novel, Lucas was abused by his cruel stepmother, making him withdrawn in personality. Yet his academic performance was outstanding. A journalist residing in the area learned about this and, unable to stand by, reported the story. Frances came to know Lucas through the report. Her husband had passed away early, and they had no children together. Feeling pity for Lucas and inspired by the resilient young man's tragic life, she developed the intention to adopt him. She gave Rose a sum of money and effortlessly took Lucas away, and thus, Lucas's fate was altered. He was sent by Francis to study at an elite school. where he met the radiant female lead. And the wounds in his heart gradually healed through her, yet, the female lead and the male lead were deeply attracted to each other. Thus, Lucas's heart grew increasingly paranoid. In the end, he went down the path of a villain without looking back. But no matter what, Frances was the benefactor in Lucas's life. This is beyond doubt. Somewhat awkwardly, I invited her inside. Frances sat across from me. Pondering for a long while before speaking, I visited around before coming here. Heard you're struggling a bit, raising Lucas all by yourself. I suppose that's her way of putting it gently. After all, I know exactly what the neighbors say about me, Rose, doing nothing all day, relying on her elementary school son to take care of her. I've never seen anyone as lazy as her. Lucas has to get up before dawn every day to cook for her. What a tragedy. Lucas even works part-time at the convenience store on weekends. Poor kid. Actually, they weren't wrong. But Lucas cooking wasn't something I asked for. It was after I nearly burned down the kitchen that he outright banned me from getting within 3 feet of it. As for him taking odd jobs, it's because he wants to earn money. What exactly he's saving up for, though, he hasn't told me. At his young age, he already has his own ideas, and there's only so much I can interfere. To outsiders, it certainly seems like he's not living well with me. Frances, noticing my silence, felt somewhat awkward and cleared her throat. Well, I previously read an article written by this child in the school newspaper. It was very well written, so I came to learn more about him, but I didn't expect. Sigh, I genuinely like this child and was wondering if I could adopt him. I finished her sentence and smiled. Ms. Frances, this isn't something I can decide. You'll have to ask Lucas himself. The only thing I'm certain of right now is that Lucas's attitude toward me is definitely not as utterly detestable as it was in the novel, so my fate won't be as miserable as it was. In that case, how he chooses to move forward from now on should be entirely up to him. In the evening, Lucas came back from school. As he pushed the door open, he said, "I brought you 2 grilled sausages, still warm." Looking up and seeing Frances sitting in the living room, he paused. Frances smiled kindly. "You must be Lucas, right? You're a bit taller than I imagined. You can call me Aunt Frances." I finished eating 2 grilled sausages outside, then went out for a walk. I didn't return home until after dark. Frances had already left, and Lucas was sitting at the desk doing his homework. I wonder what they were talking about. I placed the cold noodles Lucas loves on the table and was about to head back to my room when I heard him call out to me, "Hey, right. He doesn't call me Mom, at home. He usually just calls me, hey." I've corrected him several times about this, but he acts like he doesn't hear. I turned to look at him. "What's up?" Lucas put down his pen and glanced at the noodles on the table. He walked over and stopped in front of me. "Aunt Frances said she wants to adopt me." "Ah," I nodded instinctively. "That's great, Ms. Frances is well off and can provide you with a better life and education. If she adopts you, you'll surely have a bright future ahead." Lucas was silent for a few seconds. "Do you want me to go with her?" I pursed my lips and crouched down slightly to look at him. The half-grown child appeared unusually mature, making it hard not to feel a pang of heartache. I reached out and pinched his cheek. Surprisingly, Lucas didn't dodge this time. He stared straight into my eyes without moving. "I want you to have a better life, but the prerequisite is your happiness. Your own will matters most. No rush. Take your time to think it over, Mrs. Frances had just visited yesterday, and by the next day, the neighbors had already caught wind of it. When I went grocery shopping with Lucas, I happened to overhear a few people gossiping. If Lucas gets adopted, he'd really be hitting the jackpot. Yeah, that family is wealthy and influential. He'd be living the good life if he went with them. Rose doesn't treat him well either. He's definitely going to leave. Rose is still young and good-looking, but she's somewhat held back by this child. If Lucas leaves, with Rose's qualities, finding a wealthy man to marry wouldn't be a problem at all." Lucas stood beside me, as if he hadn't heard what they said, bowing his head, carefully picking through the vegetables. He picked out the vegetables I had just put into the bag. "This one isn't fresh anymore." Yet on the way home, he was unusually quiet. That night, he came knocking on my door. "I've already agreed to Aunt Frances," he said, looking up at me. "In a couple of days, I'll be leaving with her." So sudden, I looked at him, my heart sinking, not knowing what to say. Lucas, however, pulled me by my clothes into the kitchen. "From now on, you'll have to cook for yourself. This is the gas valve. Make sure to turn it off tightly when not in use. Don't miss the corners when sweeping the floor. The other day I noticed the floor drain was a bit clogged. Remember to call someone to fix it, clearly. I'm the adult and he's the child. At this moment, he kept nagging at me like an adult. The more he spoke, the worse I felt, so I hurriedly agreed and went back to my room. I didn't sleep a wink all night. After all, feelings have grown. On the day Lucas was supposed to leave, I checked his suitcase over and over again, after making sure nothing was left behind. I turned to look at Lucas. Come here, son, give your mom a hug. You won't get to hug me like this anymore, you know. Without waiting for his reaction, I walked straight over and reached out to embrace him. I rested my chin on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his body. I couldn't hold back anymore. A single tear fell. The tear trickled down Lucas's neck. He paused, afraid I might cry too miserably and lose face. I casually wiped my face and prepared to see him out. Why didn't Ms. Frances come to pick you up? Are you going to find her yourself? I had already reached the door, but Lucas remained motionless. I found it strange and turned my head to look. He sized me up and said, I'm not leaving. From the very beginning, I never agreed to Aunt Frances. I was completely baffled. Then why did you lie to me? I want to test something. Lucas walked over, stood on tiptoe, and reached out to wipe the still damp tears from the corner of my eye. So, you really can't bear to part with me? I was so startled by him that I couldn't speak. He had already dragged his luggage back to the room and started unpacking. Snapping out of my shock, I ran over and pressed, so what did you say to Ms. Frances? I said my mom isn't all there mentally and can't be left alone. I pursed my lips, but secretly felt a little happy. Over these years of mutual companionship, I truly feel reluctant to part with him. Wait, what did he just say? My mom. Lucas started calling me mom. This made me feel somewhat novel, yet a sense of mission naturally arose within me. I thought, I must raise Lucas to adulthood. I must guide him onto the right path. I began learning to cook, washing his clothes, and started studying how to be a qualified mother. In my spare time, I also began thinking about earning money. I opened an online store and have been swamped with work every day. But life has been quite fulfilling and happy. Mainly because Lucas is really worry-free. This kind of life went on for 4 years. The summer after graduating from junior high, Lucas brought home an acceptance letter. Due to his outstanding academic performance, he was exceptionally admitted to J.H. Noble High School. Staring at the words, J.H. Noble High School, I fell into deep thought. So, driven by the plot, he would still meet the male and female protagonists. They become vicious and cruel out of jealousy and resentment. He will still turn into the antagonist who accelerates the romantic development between the male and female leads, ultimately meeting a tragic end of losing everything. Noticing my unhappiness, Lucas asked with confusion, don't you want me to attend this school? His tone carried a hint of barely noticeable disappointment. I snapped back to reality and quickly said, how could that be? My son is so outstanding. I couldn't be happier. Son, you wait here. Mom will make a couple of delicious dishes, and we'll celebrate. Why think so much about it? Lucas is no longer the same Lucas as before. Take it one step at a time. That being said, when it came time for him to go to JH school, I still gave him endless advice and reminders. Don't start dating too early at school. Don't bully your classmates. Don't harass others, especially locking them in the bathroom, making them drink dirty water, or getting into fights. Never do any of that. Lucas gave me a strange look. Without saying a word, he nodded and boarded the bus to school. When he first started school in the big city, Lucas struggled to keep up, but within just half a semester, he had caught up on all the coursework he had fallen behind on. Most students at J.H. Noble School were children of wealthy or influential families, whose spending habits were far beyond what ordinary families could afford. I thought Lucas might feel inferior, but after observing him later, I realized I was completely overthinking it. Mom, I brought back 2 pieces of old clothing. Could you help wash them? We'll sell them on the second-hand market. Looking at the luxury brand logos on the clothes, I was terrified. Where did you get these? The roommate doesn't want it. His frankness made me a little scared. Doesn't the roommate mind? Lucas, no, they're happy to. I froze for a moment. Why? They wanted me to help them with their group project. Well, top students are always in demand everywhere. I breathed a sigh of relief, no longer worrying all day about Lucas being bullied at school or bullying others. The online store I ran went out of business last year. I started thinking about whether I should find something new to do. My second career hadn't even gotten off the ground when I noticed Lucas starting to act a bit strange. He used to come back every weekend. But now it's become once every 2 weeks, when I asked him about it. He said he'd found a part-time job there on weekends. What's more, he took the piggy bank that had always been kept at home with him, but the allowance I give him every month is enough. What does he need the money for? I felt a bit uneasy. After all, money is often the first step toward trouble. Finally, one weekend when Lucas came home, I took the chance to voice my doubts. Lucas didn't hide anything at all. There's a girl at school who, like me, is a special admissions student. Her family had a sudden misfortune. Her parents passed away, and her grandmother, who she relies on, is seriously ill and hospitalized. If I don't help her, she'll have to drop out and go work. That's a good thing. My son is doing a good deed. I was overjoyed. Well done, son. We should help whenever we can. Lucas paused his writing and glanced up at me. He smiled and nodded, humming a tune. I headed to the kitchen to cook, missing his final murmured words. I'm a bit luckier than her. It wasn't until I was cooking that I suddenly felt something was off, and then I rushed into Lucas's room with a kitchen knife. What's that girl's name? Lucas was taken aback. Susan. Clang, the kitchen knife in my hand fell to the ground. Susan, the female lead from the original novel, the one who drove Lucas to madness, has appeared, but there's one thing I can't figure out. In the original novel, the crisis of Susan dropping out of school was resolved with the help of the male lead, Finn. Although there were other conditions, it greatly eased the tension between the two. This laid the foundation for their future romantic relationship. But now, how did this plot end up being given to Lucas? Could it be, my dear boy is about to rise from second male lead to the top? Overwhelmed with excitement, I immediately went to press Lucas for answers. However, the response I got was somewhat unexpected. I don't like her. I just think she's a bit pitiful, Lucas said with a calm expression. Didn't you say it yourself? One should be happy to help others. I chuckled awkwardly. Yes, I did say that. Then I'll leave first, so I won't disturb you doing your homework. Tiptoeing out and closing the door quietly, I sat on the sofa lost in thought. We'll have to observe further. If he really falls for Susan, we must nip this affection in the bud. In the original novel, even with wealth and power, he couldn't compete with the male lead, let alone now. It's best to cut off these thoughts early before they turn into obsession. 2 more weeks passed, and Lucas returned from school. I was at the grocery market buying vegetables when I ran into my neighbor, who reminded me, your Lucas is back home. Feeling somewhat happy, I decided to buy another chicken. Then I heard his next words, and he brought a classmate with him. I widened my eyes. What? Without even having time to buy a chicken, I hurried home. This is moving way too fast. In a frantic rush, I hurried home and pushed the door open. Lucas sat on the sofa tidying up his things while the sound of running water came from the bathroom. I was stunned. Who did you bring back? A classmate, Lucas said. He's staying with us for a couple of days. Why didn't you tell me in advance? You just casually brought a female classmate home. The bathroom door opened, and a figure emerged from inside. The second half of my sentence stuck in my throat, and I swallowed it back down. Oh, it's a male classmate. Ha 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 ha, male classmates are great. The boy is handsome, exuding an air of noble elegance, clearly raised in a wealthy family. He smiled at me and said, hello, Auntie, I'm Lucas's classmate. My name is Finn, who, after helping the female lead with her medical expenses. My dear son has done another good deed, took the runaway male lead home. In the original novel, this role belonged to the female lead. Finn's father brought home an illegitimate child, which made his mother so angry that she fell ill. He also had a big fight with his father, was slapped, and had his allowance cut off. In a fit of anger, Finn ran away from home and was taken in by the kind-hearted and soft-spoken Susan to her rented apartment, in that tiny rented room. Although both were very restrained, spending day and night together inevitably gave rise to affection. But now, I watched as Lucas changed the sheets and called out to Finn, you can sleep with me tonight, the bed is big enough. He's got a big heart too. During the meal, I learned from Finn that Lucas seems to be quite popular at school. He may look cold, but he's kind-hearted and always willing to help anyone in trouble. If it weren't for me looking out for him, he would have been bullied long ago. I quickly added a few pieces of meat to Finn's plate. Thank you, Finn. He thought for a moment, then added, Lucas is quite popular among the female classmates. From what I know, there are quite a few who like him. By the way, that class beauty from the next class, what's her name? Sue, Lucas calmly interjected. Susan, right? Susan. Finn smirked mischievously. Does she like you too? I saw her confessing to you, my hand trembled. And the piece of meat I just picked up fell onto the table. Lucas glanced at him. Don't talk nonsense. There's nothing between us. Finn paused for a moment, then leaned in. Really nothing, Lucas. Yeah, the next second, Finn threw an arm around Lucas's neck. That's great, man. I think I kinda like her. Could you help a brother out? My hand trembled again, and the greens I just picked up fell onto the table. Lucas finally looked my way. He tapped the table with his chopsticks. Mom. You wasted it. I realized that the plot had significantly deviated, and Lucas's ending must have changed as well. This should have been a good thing, but I couldn't shake off the unease in my heart. This unease was confirmed a year later, that early morning, as I was on my way home from buying groceries. A sudden buzzing of electric current echoed in my mind. Then, the emotionless sound of electric current began. Drip. System 008 online. I knew it. I knew there must be a system if I suddenly got transported into a book for no reason. The system said the delay was caused by a main system malfunction. I don't believe it. I think it just forgot about me. Host, please note, after 3 years, when the host's task concludes, the happiness value will be calculated. If the happiness value meets the standard, the host's mission will be deemed successful, and you will return to the original world. I quickly asked. What if the mission isn't successful? Stay here and be Rose for the rest of your life. For a moment, I was dazed. When I first came here, I often missed my family and would cry under the covers late at night. Later, I became numb and gave up hope, but I never expected that I still had a chance to go back. Those family and friends I've missed for so long. There will come a day when we meet again. How could this not be thrilling? It took me a long while to calm my emotions. Recalling the system's words, I finally remembered to ask, whose happiness value is this? The main characters in the book, with the male and female leads accounting for 90% of the happiness value. The system said that this world exists because of the male and female leads, and their happiness value is the energy source that keeps this world running. Happiness comes from mutual support in adversity, the intertwining of love and hate in misunderstandings, and the fleeting joy of reunion and rediscovery after long separations. All these are ways for the male and female leads to accumulate happiness value, and in the process of accumulating happiness value, the supporting characters are indispensable. The vicious female supporting character, the ruthless villain, the devoted second male lead. They are obstacles on the path of the main couple's love, yet also catalysts that double the growth of happiness points. Host, as your system, I kindly remind you that due to the personality shift of the villain Lucas, the conversion of happiness points for the main couple has been severely affected. According to current calculations, this world's happiness points will fall far below the passing standard in 3 years. Do you regret it? A little bit, but seeing how Lucas is now, I feel there's nothing to regret. Lucas has grown taller again. This child is truly outstanding, yes. I heard his grades are among the top even in big cities. Such a filial child to Rose too. How could there be such a good kid? Lucas got off the bus. Along the way, the neighbors couldn't stop praising him. He responded humbly, looked up and saw me, then quickly came over carrying his suitcase. This is my senior year of high school, the most crucial year. He still comes back every 2 weeks. At 18, Lucas has grown very tall. His features have matured, and he's shed the youthful innocence of a boy. The soft glow of the sunset bathed him, making his entire being seem to radiate light. Mom, let's go home. He took the groceries from my hand and walked ahead quickly. Along the way, he shared stories about his school life with me, which new friends he had made, and what interesting things had happened. Lucy has a bit of a temper, but she's all right. Kind of tsundere. If you talk to her properly, she'll listen. By the way, Finn confessed to Susan, but she turned him down. Still, they agreed to go to the same university together. I just found out my roommate likes Susan too. You've met him. His name's Sam. He doesn't talk much. I was worried he'd be upset, so I stayed up all night talking with him. He's completely over it now. I listened quietly as he spoke. A smile played at the corners of my lips, though I was familiar with all the names he mentioned. Lucy, the villainess, Sam, the devoted second male lead. Lucas single-handedly cleared all obstacles on the path of the main couple's romance. Truly my beloved son. Ah ha 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 ha. Woo woo woo. I'm feeling a bit complicated. Lucas is very perceptive. He turned his head to look at me and stopped walking. Mom, what's wrong? Nothing. I shook my head. I'm just a little happy. By the way, have you decided which university you want to apply to? Lucas nodded. I've made up my mind. Lucas said he wants to apply for the journalism department at University A and become a journalist. He has always had his own ideas, and I won't interfere with his choice. Senior year is a busy time, and Lucas studies late every night. On the day of the college entrance exam, I went to see him off. Finn, Lucy, and Sam also came along. They come from well-off families and had long prepared to study abroad. Seeing them standing together, I felt a bit dazed. The male lead, the vicious female supporting character, and the devoted second male lead, all here to send the villain off for the exam. Still lost in thought, Lucas had already walked up to me, usually so reserved. He actually reached out and hugged me. He rested his chin on my shoulder. "Thank you, Mom." Such a simple sentence unexpectedly made my eyes well up instantly. This year I'm 39, having spent 10 years in this world. Over the course of 10 years, I pulled back someone who was destined to fall into the abyss. I think it was worth it. After the college entrance exams, Lucas got his wish and was admitted to the journalism department at University A. On the first day of school, as I was helping him pack his luggage, he stood at the door watching me bustle about and suddenly said, "Mom, you seem shorter than last year." I angrily threw the sock at his face. "It's because you're too tall." Throughout his 4 years in college, Lucas absorbed knowledge like a sponge. He followed his mentor to conduct social investigations, exposing unscrupulous factories, reported on the conditions of children in mountainous areas, helping to implement educational poverty alleviation projects. Every time I saw his name appear in the news, I felt both proud and worried. During the summer vacation of his junior year, he visited a household where domestic violence and child abuse were occurring, and was slashed with a kitchen knife by the male head of the family. Upon hearing the news, I rushed to the hospital. His arm was wrapped in thick bandages, yet the moment he saw me, he still acted as if nothing had happened. "It's nothing, the tendons weren't injured, I just need to rest and recover properly. But that beast hurt me and has been locked up, at least for the next month or two. His family will be at peace." With reddened eyes, I peeled an apple for him. Then I heard him call out to me, "Mom." Looking up, Lucas's eyes flickered slightly as he asked, "Tell me, if I hadn't met you, would my life have been just as miserable?" I lowered my head. "I wasn't very nice to you at first." "Yeah," Lucas paused. "So I always felt like you suddenly became a different person." I froze for a moment. "Lucas, Mom, are you an angel sent from heaven to save me?" Smooth talker. During the time I took care of him in the hospital, Lucas told me about the current situations of his good friends. Finn and Susan confirmed their relationship in college, and although they occasionally argue, their relationship is stable. Lucy met someone who truly loves her and is getting married next year after graduating from university. Sam succeeded in starting his own business, established a small company, and is now fully devoted to his career. Everyone becomes the protagonist of their own life. That's great. On the day Lucas was discharged from the hospital, I heard the system's voice again. Ding, calculating happiness value. I froze for a moment, then let it go. It's fine if it doesn't meet the standards. I've already come to terms with it, but I never expected the system to announce the results the very next second, freezing me in place. Calculation result. The current world happiness value has met the target. Congratulations, host, the mission is complete. I froze. How could this happen, this time? The system thoughtfully provided an explanation. Apart from the male and female leads, although the happiness values of other important characters only account for 10%, their base happiness values are too large, affecting the final happiness calculation. Host, in all of history, you're the first to complete the mission in such a manner. I blinked my eyes, suppressing the excitement in my heart. Then when can I go back? 2 months later. In what way? Death. The medical report I was holding suddenly fell to the ground. Footsteps approached from behind. Turning my head, I saw Lucas running towards me, a smile on his face. "Mom," but the scene before me grew increasingly blurry. A sharp dizziness overwhelmed my mind. Before losing consciousness, I heard Lucas's distorted cry, "Mom." When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed. The doctor told me I had late-stage liver cancer, with at most 3 months left. Impossible. Lucas, his eyes red, confronted the doctor. "My mom gets a checkup every year. She was perfectly fine last year." The doctor looked at him with sympathy. "This illness sometimes progresses very quickly. I know, this is the system arranging my exit strategy. In my case, wouldn't this count as retiring after winning merit?" Lucas took a leave of absence from school and stayed by my side without leaving for a moment. He cooked various dishes for me, Though I would vomit badly each time, he read me the reports he wrote. Even though I often fell asleep while listening, one late night, I woke up from the pain to find Lucas asleep by the bed, still clutching a damp towel in his hand. Under the moonlight, I noticed a few strands of white hair at his temples, only 22 years old. My heart ached as I gently stroked his hair. He woke up immediately, asking nervously, "Mom, are you feeling unwell?" I shook my head and suddenly said, "Son, I want to see you in a suit." The next day, he borrowed a suit and clumsily tied his tie by the hospital bed. I smiled and directed him, "A little higher on the left." "Yes, just like that." As he leaned over to tuck in the blanket for me, I caught a faint whiff of soap from him, and it vaguely reminded me of the first time we met, that wary 8-year-old boy. "Having a son like you is the proudest thing in my life," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "In the future, take care." Lucas's tears fell on the back of my hand, scalding as if they could burn a hole through it. He tightly grasped my hand, choking up and unable to speak. The system's voice rang out, "Host mission completed. Space-time tunnel opening. Transmission will begin in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8. In the final moment before consciousness faded, I saw the hospital room door being pushed open. Finn, Susan, Lucy, they all came, each holding a bouquet of flowers in their hands. "Be happy," I whispered softly, not knowing if I was speaking to them or to this world. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in my familiar bedroom, the date on my phone showing the day I had traveled through time. With trembling hands, I dialed my mother's number, and the moment I heard her voice, tears poured down like rain. It was just a short hour, yet I lived 10 years over there. Mom was terrified by me. "What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare?" "No, not a nightmare," I cried sorrowfully. "It was a good dream." In the dream, I did many good deeds. Many years later, I still occasionally dream of Lucas, dreaming that he became a famous journalist. I dreamed that he also met the girl he loved, and the two of them walked into the wedding hall. I dreamed that he also had his own child. I dreamed of their family of 3 going to take a family portrait, with Lucas wearing a sharp suit, standing beside his gentle wife and adorable child. A small corner of the photo was intentionally left empty, with a tiny teacup placed there. Someone asked him, "Reporter Lou, that empty seat is?" Lucas replied, "It's for my mom. She always said she wanted to see me in a suit." When he woke up, the sunlight outside was just right. A gentle breeze brushed over the novel on the desk. I wiped away my tears and tucked the novel into the deepest corner of the bookshelf. "Lucas, your life is full of happiness. From now on, I will embrace my own happiness." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After losing my memory, I forgot I was once the villainess. Sent a group apology to friends. "Sorry, I've lost my memory. May I ask who you are?" Instantly received 4 messages on my phone. The cold childhood friend I once bullied. "Is this another new way to torment me?" Left food downstairs for you. Remember to eat. The loyal stepbrother who was once mistreated. Still mad at your brother. I transferred some pocket money to your card. I'll come back to keep you company tonight. The cool female lead who was once teased. Acting again. If you've lost your memory, just go back to sleep. I signed you in for class attendance. Could it be that I was actually holding the script of the beloved one all along? Doctors and nurses came and went in the ward, the air filled with the smell of disinfectant. I forced myself to sit up, feeling dizzy and lightheaded. Not far away, a doctor was chatting with a middle-aged man. "How is she doing now?" Miss Shin's memory loss isn't too severe at the moment. She just forgets certain specific people. Listening to their conversation, I was slightly stunned. Amnesia? How could I have amnesia? I don't think I've lost my memory. I couldn't help but interject. "I remember my name is Shin Fu, my father is Shin Hechuan, and my mother is Song Xin." The middle-aged man who was speaking turned to me with good humor and asked, "Then does the young lady remember my name?" I quickly nodded. "Of course I remember. You're our butler, Uncle Lee." After a long silence, the man looked at me with a complicated expression. "Young lady, I'm your family's chauffeur, and my surname isn't Lee. It's Lu, me." He sighed and said to the doctor, "Then I'll trouble you to take extra care. I'll go contact her parents first." From their brief conversation, I learned that I had accidentally fallen down the stairs at the library, lost consciousness, and was then sent to the hospital by my classmates. After they left the ward, I snapped out of my daze and began scrolling through my phone, among the pinned contacts. If it weren't for my parents whom I recognized, I would have suspected this was someone else's phone I had picked up, right on cue. The person labeled, "Cold-Hearted Monster," sent 2 messages: "Come downstairs and get your takeout in 30 minutes. I can't be bothered to have someone deliver it to you." I racked my brains but still couldn't recall who this person was. I had no choice but to ask, "Are you buying me lunch?" The reply came swiftly, yet every word seemed laced with thorns. "Buying lunch for the young lady is my duty, but next time, could you let me know in advance if you want dishes from outside the cafeteria? Otherwise, queuing for half an hour would delay your mealtime. You're quite polite, but now is not the time to eat." I quickly replied, "No need, I won't eat today." The other side fell silent for a while. Though I couldn't see the face on the other side of the screen, I could sense a hint of anger. "Just because the breakfast I brought this morning didn't suit your taste, so you're angry again, is that it?" I quickly explained, "No, it's because I've lost my memory." QWQ, the other person sneered. "Is this another new method mission came up with to torment me? Am I really that terrible?" Afraid he wouldn't believe me, I took a photo to show him. I'm really not lying. I'm still lying in the hospital bed right now. For a long time, there was no reply from the other end. Probably fainted from anger, or simply couldn't be bothered with me. I scrolled through our chat history. This cold-hearted monster routinely helped me with getting meals, picking up packages, and buying milk tea. Sometimes I even take orders to tutor homework and provide answers for exams, but my attitude towards him was really not very friendly. My tone of voice was also domineering. A wave of guilt washed over me. How can you speak to a classmate in such a tone? Shenfu. The hospital room door was suddenly pushed open as a boy hurriedly rushed in. He wore a simple white short-sleeved shirt. His features refined and his bone structure striking. Even the fingers holding the takeout box were fair and slender. For a moment, I was completely mesmerized. Some people may have lost their memories, but their inherently lustful nature remains unchanged. The standards for an ideal type haven't changed. I looked up at him and cautiously asked, "You are?" The other person stiffened, pressing his lips together. He lowered his gaze and asked, "You don't remember who I am?" I frowned in deep thought. "Are you some kind of cold-hearted monster?" His expression turned complicated. "My name is Zhou Song." Zhou Song reached out to check the injury on my forehead. "Did you fall down the stairs? Is it serious?" Seeing me frozen in place, he stiffly withdrew his hand, his tone turning indifferent. "I'm not worried about you. I'm afraid you'll bump your head and then blame it on me again." In just a few words, he painted a vivid picture of how selfish and willful I used to be. My guilt grew even deeper. Seeing that I remained silent, he asked quietly, "Do you really not remember who I am?" I answered very honestly, "I don't remember, but judging from the chat history, you must be someone who often runs errands for me." Zhou Song, "Not exactly." I looked up suspiciously. And he took a deep breath before slowly saying, "We're childhood sweethearts." Seeing that I remained silent, Zhou Song added calmly, "Of course, we were also engaged in an arranged marriage before." I was shocked. But the chat history doesn't seem like it. I thought we were just unfamiliar classmates." Zhou Song laughed in extreme anger. "If not for that relationship, who would be willing to run errands for you every day? Who would specifically buy you meals and save seats for you?" I defended myself in confusion, "But you just said it was your duty to get meals for me." Zhou Song slightly raised his eyelids. "Yes, isn't it the duty of a fiancé?" At that moment, Uncle Lu, the driver, entered the ward and was somewhat surprised to see Zhou Song. "Why did Xiao Song come?" Zhou Song politely stood up and greeted with a smile. "I came to see her." Uncle Lu was just about to find a chair to sit down when he was startled by Zhou Song's words and stood up again. "By the way, Uncle Lu, Fufu doesn't believe that we grew up together since childhood. Tell her, aren't we already engaged?" Uncle Lu widened his eyes. He glanced at Zhou Song, whose expression remained unchanged, then at me, full of confusion. After a moment of contemplation, he nodded with a complicated expression. Indeed it is. The first person I saw when I woke up was Uncle Lu. Plus, he ran around helping me with the procedures and contacting my parents. So I had already developed some trust in him without realizing it. I could tell from Zhou Song's expression that he wasn't joking. She felt a secret delight in her heart. Her ideal type had suddenly become her fiancé. What a lucky strike, indeed. Someone you've liked before. even if you've lost your memory, you'll fall in love with at first sight all over again. When Uncle Lou went out to answer the phone, Zhou Song placed the meal box on the small rolling table and handed me the bowl and chopsticks. Let's eat first. I glanced at it and smiled. What a coincidence. These are all my favorite dishes. Zhou Song lowered his eyes as he ladled soup for me, his tone calm. Unfortunately, this was the menu you specifically requested this morning. I felt guilty. Then wouldn't it be too much trouble for you? Zhou Song wiped his hands with a tissue and said indifferently, it's not just trouble for this one day. I'm used to it. Feeling a bit more sympathetic, I tugged at his sleeve. Then let's eat together. Zhou Song stiffened. He rubbed his nose and cleared his throat twice. I only bought one portion. I suddenly felt puzzled again. Don't we usually eat together? Zhou Song turned his head away, pretending to look at the scenery outside the window. We do, but I've already eaten today. Without suspecting anything, I finally felt relieved. While he was drinking water, I chatted with him non-stop as I ate. Zhou Song, actually, the moment I saw you, I felt like I remembered something. He was suddenly choked by water and coughed violently a few times, almost losing his composure. Remembered, Zhou Song's voice sounded somewhat strange, no longer as calm and composed as when they first met. I nodded. Yes, from the first moment I saw you, I felt we were a perfect match, as expected of an engagement. Truly my destined husband. I smiled, and even though I've lost my memory, my ideal type hasn't changed. The husband I imagined looks just like you, his jade-like face gradually flushed with crimson, his earlobes turning so red they seemed to drip blood. Zhou Song hurriedly stood up, nearly knocking over the small side table. Zhou Song tried his best to steady his emotions, but his flushed cheeks still betrayed his current state of mind. He shook the phone in his hand. There's a notice just sent in the group chat. I need to go back for a bit. I have to submit some materials to my advisor this afternoon, I considerately urged. Then hurry back. I'm feeling much better. I'll probably be fine after resting a bit this afternoon. Zhou Song nodded and softened his tone. I'll come check on you again later this evening. He practically fled the hospital room in a panic. I couldn't help but sigh at how tough it is to pursue a master's degree these days. The supervisor's messages feel like death warrants. Uncle Lou happened to return from outside the hospital room and was a bit surprised to see only me left. Zhou Song's gone already? I nodded with a smile and said, yes, he said he'd come to see me later. Uncle Lou breathed a sigh of relief and continued discussing with me. The doctor suggested it would be best to have a family member come to the hospital. Your parents are abroad and can't return immediately. Should I contact your brother instead? Brother? I have a brother. Seeing my blank expression, Uncle Lou looked unsurprised. He took my phone, tapped on the screen, and handed it back to me. This is your brother. I looked down. A beagle wearing sunglasses appeared in my view. The contact's nickname, Wish-Granting ATM. The chat box contains pitifully few daily conversations, almost entirely filled with the other person's transfer records, and if anyone makes me angry, they're the first to help resolve it. The speed is so fast it's like I bought an overtime protection service. Xiaofu, you might not remember, but Shenjua is your brother, not by blood, but a child your parents adopted. He's 3 years older than you and usually takes good care of you, Uncle Lou explained to me. I understood and sent a message to the other person. Brother, the other person replied almost instantly. They sent 50 question marks in a row, though I didn't understand what they were so surprised about. I honestly continued typing. Are you free right now? Coin bursting wish machine. I'm free. What's up? Who's bullying you again? Coin bursting wish machine. Send me their personal info. I'll take care of it. Coin bursting wish machine. Need some pocket money. I'll transfer it right away. Coin bursting wish machine. Also, what did you just call me? Can you say it again? TVT. What a strange guy. What a strange request. But I still indulged him. Bro, could you come to the hospital for a bit? He replied with a row of question marks. Then, a voice call came crashing in. I've always hated answering phone calls. Even after losing my memory, it's still the same. So I mercilessly clicked reject. Coin bursting wish machine. Why aren't you answering the phone? Did something happen? Coin bursting wish machine. Scammer. Coin bursting wish machine. Telecom fraudsters should drop dead. Return the account to her, or I'll kill you. Me, don't feel like answering the phone. Too lazy to pick up. The gold exploding wishing machine. Oh, that's me. I've lost my memory. He sent another row of question marks. It really matches the daily situation depicted in his profile picture. coin bursting wishing machine. Then do you still remember who I am? I'm getting a bit annoyed, of course. Aren't you my brother, coin bursting wishing machine? Yes, yes, I'm your favorite brother. Please don't add weird modifiers for yourself, okay? I pretended not to see it. If you're free, could you come to the hospital? The doctor wants to see a family member. The gold exploding wishing machine. Send me the address. After sending the location, afraid he might worry, I added, don't worry, my condition isn't too serious. The gold exploding wishing machine, MHM. Big brother will be there right away. Happy face, I reassured him, no rush, Uncle Lou is keeping me company in the ward, and my fiancé just visited me too. There was a brief moment of silence on the other end. Soon, another barrage of shocked question marks followed. Gold spewing wishing machine. Fiancé, who the hell is that? Before long, Shenjua hurried over. He was still dressed in a suit and shirt, yet his neat short hair and the earring on his left ear clashed with the outfit. Fufu. Shenjua sat by my bedside, his face filled with emotion and anticipation. So after losing your memory, you only remember me, actually, I don't remember you either. I took out my phone and handed it to him, kindly saying, Uncle Lou told me that the person with this profile picture is my brother. Shenjua glanced at the phone and the corner of his mouth twitched. Why am I called a wish-granting machine that explodes gold coins? I feel like everyone I've met today should be the ones hospitalized instead of me. If I knew, would it still be called amnesia? Shenjua, fair point. Although my stepbrother doesn't seem very reliable, he's currently my only relative. I tugged at his sleeve and whispered, brother, can I be discharged? I want to go home. Shenjua's heart melted completely. No problem at all. I'll go handle the paperwork right away. He strode quickly toward the door. Then turned back and cleared his throat. Oh, Fufu, I forgot to tell you one thing. I looked up suspiciously. Shenjua took a deep breath and whispered earnestly, at home, you've always called me brother. Half an hour later, I got into the car heading home. Shenjua kept asking beside me, do you want a drink? Would you like some snacks? I shook my head and smiled, saying, no need, brother. Shenjua, then do you want to listen to music? Or play some games? I shook my head again. Thank you, brother, no need to trouble yourself. Shenjua carefully pondered the term of address, finally withdrawing his gaze with satisfaction. I flipped through the chat records and raised a question. Brother, why do I feel like we didn't get along well before? Shenjua was like a wild dog with its fur standing on end. Who said that? Who said that? I handed my phone to him and honestly said, I saw it myself. And I wasn't very nice to you either. Shenjua was so moved he was almost in tears. Not nice at all. I think it was perfect, bro. Are you okay? In the chat history, I usually boss Shenjua around like he's a dog. If there's even the slightest thing that displeases me, I can't help but curse him out mercilessly. Yet Shenjua never resists or argues back, just silently endures it. One last thing to say, don't be angry. It's all my fault. I've transferred some money to you. Go buy a bag to cheer yourself up. How could I be so wicked? Shenjua listed my virtues in detail. Look, whenever someone bullies you, you ask me to go beat them up. Isn't that just you caring about my health? Afraid I'd turn into a beer-bellied, greasy man, making sure I get regular exercise to stay limber. Plus, every week you ask me to send you money. Why? Because you know I'd just waste it otherwise. You're cutting off the problem at the source. And it's not like you're buying junk. You get gold and designer bags. What does that mean? It's an investment. You're managing my finances for me. You usually speak quite bluntly. But it doesn't matter. We're family. And as the saying goes, those who love you the most can hurt you the most with their words. You love me the most, so I completely understand. The car drove into a villa district, and when I got out, Shenjua held a parasol for me. He suddenly asked, by the way, you mentioned earlier that your fiancé came to see you. Who is it? I smiled and said. He said his name is Zhou Song. Do you know him? Shenjua fell into silence. After a long while, he finally gritted his teeth and spoke. Damn it. My home's been stolen. Don't believe a single sweet word he says. Those who appear pure and harmless on the surface are often the most rotten inside, the best at deception. As soon as the words fell, a mocking laugh came from ahead. Are you introducing yourself? I looked at the girl standing on the stairs. She crossed her arms and smirked at us. I turned to Shenjua beside me in confusion. Didn't you say I only had one brother? Do I have an older sister? Shenjua, she's Chuyu. As he said this, Shenjue carefully observed my reaction. She's the daughter of Aunt Wang from our household. Her family is renovating recently, so her parents asked her to stay at our place for a few days over the weekend. Earlier in the car, Uncle Lu the driver mentioned there's still a nanny at home who's been taking care of us for over 20 years. It must be Aunt Wang. Seeing I didn't respond, Shenjue whispered in my ear, "We don't need to mind her, let's go rest in our room first. Don't forget to take your medicine later." Chiyu raised an eyebrow slightly upon hearing this, yet he still casually stepped aside to make way for me. Even as I walked up the stairs, I could still see Chiyu standing by the door downstairs. Noticing my gaze, she lifted her eyelids slightly to glance at me. Chiyu was very beautiful, the kind of beauty that would make people turn their heads for a second look if they passed her on the street. Her slightly upturned peach blossom eyes added a touch of aloofness to her demeanor. I tilted my head and waved at her with a smile. Chiyu was momentarily stunned. Early the next morning, I received several video calls in a row from my parents. My mom was sobbing on the other side of the screen, and I tried to comfort her, saying only that the doctor would come to check on my recovery at any time. They finally felt relieved. Just as I hung up the phone, a commotion erupted downstairs. I shuffled in my slippers and peeked down. Both Shenjue and Zhou Song looked rather displeased. Meanwhile, Jiu sat leisurely on the sofa watching TV. Shenjue clenched his teeth and glared angrily. "You actually took advantage of her amnesia to claim you're her fiancé. Have you no shame?" Zhou Song poured himself a glass of water as if no one else was present. "I wasn't wrong. We were already engaged." Shenjue was so angry he could hardly resist punching him. "Can you even call that an engagement? Neither of you showed up for the engagement ceremony. Before that, you two were like sworn enemies, always arguing whenever you met. And you hated how she kept bossing you around using her status as your fiancé. Why don't you mention any of that?" Zhou Song kindly corrected the mistake in his words. "That's not entirely true. Before high school, we actually got along quite well. You remembered it wrong. Is that the point?" Shenjue was about to faint from anger. "I've never seen someone as shameless as you." Chu, who had been watching from the sidelines for a while, lazily spoke up. "Don't be so surprised. I think you're pretty shameless too." Chiyu yawned. "And you insist on making others call you brother, when at home you don't even deserve a name. Hasn't your nickname always been, Hey? You were the one saying she's most attached to you at home. Seems to me you were the clingy one before." Shenjue finally snapped out of it, laughing in anger. "I was too busy lecturing Zhou Song and forgot about you." "Chu, this is my house. Watch your tone." Chu glanced up indifferently. "I know. If it weren't for your parents asking me to stay, why would I want to be here?" The tense atmosphere among the three downstairs had escalated to the point where they seemed oblivious to everything else. After a moment of hesitation, I spoke up. "What are you talking about?" All three abruptly looked up at me on the second floor. Shenjue was the first to react, quickly forcing a smile. "Fufu, we were just chatting. Isn't the tone of your conversation a bit too fierce?" I tilted my head, looking past him at Zhou Song behind him. "Zhou Song, why are you here too?" Zhou Song naturally pushed Shenjue aside and walked toward me. Her tone softened considerably. "I came to take you back to school." Shenjue grabbed his collar. "You think you need to fetch her? Do I look dead to you?" Both of them turned to look at me. Fufu, my gaze fell on Chu, who was quietly sipping tea nearby, completely detached from the situation. "Chu, are you also studying at S University?" It seemed she didn't expect the conversation to circle back to her. Chu was drinking tea and suddenly choked on it. She forced herself to stay composed, wiping her mouth with a tissue before looking up at me with a complicated expression. "Yeah, what about it?" I smiled, my eyes sparkling. "Then I'll go back with you." Along the way, Chu spoke to me only a handful of times. Uncle Lu kept trying to ease the tension by constantly explaining the other party's identity to me. Only then did I realize that Chuyu used to come to my house often when we were kids. Although she was the housekeeper's daughter, my parents doted on her very much. She had always been quiet and reserved since childhood, quite unlike my own personality. Uncle Lu, speaking more freely now, gradually dropped his guard. "Xiao Fu, you and Xiao Yu grew up together. Whatever conflicts you have later, just talk them out. You can still be good friends." I frowned slightly. "Do I have any issues with Chuyu?" Two coughs came from the side as Chuyu changed the subject. She looked down at me, her voice cool and detached. "Your brother said you lost your memory. You're not acting again, are you?" Before I could speak, Uncle Lu quickly interjected. "Of course not. I was the one who handled the hospital admission procedures for the young miss. Jiu choked back her words and fell silent. I watched as she propped her head up and gazed out the window, lost in thought. Unable to resist, I whispered my question, Chuyu, what kind of person was I before? Jiu didn't turn around, but his words were directed at me. Why didn't you ask Shinjua and Zhou Song? I cupped my face and let out a long sigh. The things those two said to me were a mix of truth and lies, praising me to the skies. I don't trust them. Then do you trust me? Jiu turned to look at me, casually listing my misdeeds. You are selfish, arrogant, domineering, and malicious. The slightest thing that doesn't go your way makes you throw a tantrum, as if you've been possessed. I was stunned. Jiu said calmly, do you believe me when I say this about you? After a brief thought, I nodded. This time, it was her turn to freeze. I think you're absolutely right. I used to be that kind of terrible person, I said with guilt and sincerity. I've read the chat records. The old me wasn't as good as those two made me out to be. Chuyu frowned slightly, opened her mouth, but remained silent. Then have I been bullying Shinjua often? I asked her anxiously. You often stay at my place. You should know, right? Chuyu, whose arm I was tugging at, seemed a bit uncomfortable but didn't pull away. She just paused for a moment, propping her head up with one hand and casually replied, that's right. Shinjua is your number one lackey. He'll give you whatever you want, even if you asked for the stars in the sky. He'd contact the IAU for you. He's always spoiled you the most since childhood, but if he fails to do what you ask, you'd either hit or scold him without hesitation. I swallowed hard unconsciously, my nose tingling with emotion, my voice trembling. I even hit him. My palms ached faintly, recalling Shinjua's doting smile from earlier in the day. I could hardly resist punching myself. Jiu glanced at me with a complicated expression. What are you thinking? Of course. It's not the kind of hitting that involves fists and kicks. I was dumbfounded. Then what kind is it? Jiu waved his hand, his voice awkward. It's not convenient to say, just consider it a reward for him. Anyway, he seemed to like it quite a bit. The car stopped at the school gate. Jiu walked straight toward the teaching building, then turned back halfway to ask me, do you want to go to the 10 o'clock class later? I rubbed my groggy head and asked guiltily, can I skip it? Jiu scoffed lightly, as expected. Even with amnesia, some people's habit of disliking classes is still ingrained in their blood. I wanted to argue but found myself speechless. Truly an expert in studying human nature. I'll sign in for you. If you're not feeling well, go back to the dorm and rest. Jiu lazily waved at me. Go back. I quickly expressed my gratitude. Who would have thought Jiu was actually quite nice? Not at all as arrogant as she seemed. I wonder why we had conflicts before. I really wouldn't mind being friends with her. My mind was racing with random thoughts when I turned around and heard an almost imperceptible sigh behind me. Actually, the old you wasn't as bad as you think. After lying in the dorm for a while, closing my eyes only brought a kaleidoscope of bizarre fragments. Intermittent memories flashed through my mind, feeling like a puppet on strings, utterly out of control. I simply couldn't sleep. The dorm was empty, so I ended up taking a bored stroll around campus. Before I knew it, I had wandered to the library. I had just finished replying to Shinjua's routine caring message. After some thought, I added, thank you for taking care of me before, brother. The phone was silent for 2 seconds. Then came a barrage of vibrating message notifications. Before I could even check them, someone called out to me, Xiao Fu. Zhou Song stood before me. He changed into a short-sleeved shirt, looking fresh and clean. Are you going to the library? Zhou Song asked softly, his voice clear and gentle. I hesitated briefly. Yes, I thought since I fell in the library, maybe revisiting the place would help me remember something. Zhou Song understood and nodded. Then I'll go with you. There weren't many people in the library at this time, and everyone was quietly reading. I ran my hand along the stair railing, but a young girl's face faintly appeared in my mind. Zhou Song, Uncle Lu said this morning that I had a conflict with Chu Yu. Is that true? Zhou Song and I grew up together, so of course he knew Chu Yu as well. Shenjua is completely obedient to me, since I had conflicts with Chu Yu in the past. If I were to ask him, he would definitely only say what sounds pleasant, compared to Shenjua. Zhou Song seems to be more impartial. He frowned slightly. Did you remember something? I shook my head. No, I just feel a bit uneasy inside. Zhou Song followed me to the terrace outside the second floor of the library before slowly speaking up. He tried to narrate the past between me and Chu Yu from an objective, emotionless perspective, childhood playmates who grew up together. Yet when we met again in high school, we became fierce rivals. I couldn't stand how my parents always praised Chuyu. And I felt resentful when others complimented her beauty. I often took advantage of Chuyu being the housekeeper's daughter to humiliate and bully her in front of others, yet Chuyu couldn't be bothered to argue with me, treating me like an immature child, which only infuriated me more. Listening to Zhou Song's matter-of-fact account, I was so embarrassed I wished I could disappear into the ground. What kind of person is that Chuyu? Zhou Song pondered for a moment. Lowering his eyes to flip through the book pages, I didn't interact with her much. She only ever played with you since childhood. Later, after growing up, she went back to town for school, and I never saw her again. I've heard you mention her a few times. You said you were very curious about her. At that time, you looked very happy. I don't know why you later targeted her everywhere. Zhou Song didn't like discussing others behind their backs, so I didn't press further. He sat with me in the library, in the quiet surroundings. The greenery outside the window is lush and vibrant, like a dense green mist, filled with the courage of new beginnings. Watching Zhou Song engrossed in his book, I couldn't help but whisper, when I was really bad before, did you never dislike me? From these brief few days of interaction, I've always felt that Zhou Song might not be as aloof in private as he appears on the surface. Zhou Song's hand paused while turning the page. He remained silent for a while. I wouldn't say I dislike it, but I was quite surprised. I felt a bit embarrassed. Then I must have bullied you often before. Zhou Song chuckled lightly, as calm and unruffled as a passing cloud. If you mean someone who often runs errands for you, saves seats, copies homework, but then finds excuses to angrily give me gifts I like, then yes, that could be considered bullying me in another sense. I lowered my head and muttered softly. What if I never recover my memories? As soon as the words left my mouth, someone gently ruffled my hair. Zhou Song's palm was gentle. Actually, it doesn't really matter. Perhaps when you look back later, you'll realize that you're freer now. Zhou Song walked me to the dormitory building. My phone was now flooded with messages from Shinjua. Why did you suddenly say such things? Fufu, your brother is so touched he might cry. By the way, you absolutely must stay away from Zhou Songyuan. You never liked him before. Don't let him fool you. Once when you were drunk, you kept rambling about how you'd never like him again and how he'd end up falling for the female lead in the future. We won't play with him, okay? Big brother is going on a business trip to F country tomorrow. What gift would you like? The female lead. The moment these three words came into view, I suddenly felt dizzy. The back of my head went numb, and my heart pounded like a drum. At that moment, a mechanical voice rang out in my mind, cold, piercing, and all too familiar. Host, long time no see. Memories flooded into my brain like a tidal wave, forced to take on the role of the villainess, compelled to engage in conflicts with Chuyu, and even scenes where my body acted beyond my control to humiliate Zhou Song. One by one, piece by piece, like a puzzle, the memories seamlessly came together in my mind. The day I reunited with Chuyu in high school, a system's voice appeared in my mind. It said this was a novel. Ji was the female lead in the book, Zhou Song was the male lead in the book, and I was the selfish and willful villainess. Ji would eventually transform step by step from the housekeeper's daughter into a dazzling white swan. She would steal my parents' admiring gazes, take away the care of my stepbrother at home, and in the end, even snatch away my childhood sweetheart fiancé. The seed of jealousy took root and sprouted in my heart, as the heiress of the Shin family. I was destined to fight her to the death. At first, I thought about resisting. I questioned the system, demanding to know why it made me become such a person. The system's voice was simply cold and indifferent. Host, this is your mission as a novel character. In this story, there will only be one female lead. If you don't fight for it, you'll always be at someone else's mercy. I think, even if the female lead awakens to her identity, she will use every means to suppress you. After all, you're not the female lead but have enjoyed the treatment of one. She won't be able to swallow that anger. Controlled by the system, I began my career as the villainess. The system assigned me a task to make things difficult for Chuyu. I had no choice but to publicly mock and ridicule her for wearing cheap clothes that were unfit for the occasion. After completing the task, I couldn't bear it in my heart, so I secretly gave the new clothes I had bought to Aunt Wang, vaguely saying I no longer liked them and asking her to help me dispose of them. A week later, that dress appeared on Chuyu. I stood in the shadows, watching her bask in the sunlight, truly like a radiant princess. Chuyu really does look best in a white dress, I thought proudly to myself. yet tears silently streamed down the corners of my eyes. The system said that in the future, Chiyu would steal my fiancé. I must get engaged to Zhou Song before that happens, so, like a manipulated puppet, I forced my parents to arrange the engagement banquet. The system deliberately chose the day Zhou Song's grandfather was critically ill, claiming only then could we see Zhou Song's true feelings for me. Zhou Song didn't attend the engagement banquet because of this. I didn't dare to show up either, afraid to see the disappointment and disgust in his eyes. I've thought of many ways to make amends, but compared to what I've done, they all seem utterly ridiculous. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to become the person they despise step by step. I requested to terminate the mission, only to be met with the system's cold rejection. You are the villainess. The mission cannot be ended. So she spent her days in constant fear and anxiety. Missing a step on the library stairs, when her body hit the ground with a heavy thud, only one thought crossed her mind. Surprisingly, she felt a sense of relief, thinking she could finally rest. Task cannot be terminated. Host, you've already delayed progress due to memory loss. Please start over. Please start over. The deadline is. The system voice in my mind continues to tirelessly urge me. I knelt on the ground and couldn't help but shout, I don't want to do missions anymore. Suddenly, I fell into a warm embrace. The sweet scent of citrus filled my nose. The world became peaceful in that moment. The system voice in my mind suddenly came to an abrupt halt, as if someone had cut the power supply in an instant. Jiu held me, patting my back repeatedly while whispering comforting words. All right, we won't do the mission anymore. She clenched her teeth and softened her tone. I don't know, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I was held in Chuyu's embrace. But my sleeve was soaked by falling droplets. Chuyu, I froze in shock, then hurriedly pushed her away. The system had previously said that if it caught me acting out of character, I would be punished again. It's okay. She grabbed my wrist, clumsily comforting me, whispering word by word, the game is over. I sat in Chuyu's dorm room. Only the two of us were in the room. She poured me a glass of water. So you've also been bound to a mission. You know you're the female lead in this book. I held a water glass, frowning as I asked. Chiyu lowered her eyes and whispered softly, but I didn't know the price of becoming the female lead would be you being forced into the role of the villainess. The system only said that by binding to the female lead's identity, I could climb up step by step from the bottom. It lied to me, saying people around me were unpredictable and the only one I could trust was myself. The only one I can rely on is myself. The dorm room fell into deathly silence, so all the times you targeted me and made things difficult for me, I could endure it. I think, having been pampered since childhood, it's normal for you to get angry and jealous when hearing unpleasant rumors, even if you escalate your behavior. To me, it's just a little girl afraid of losing her parents' love, but I never thought you were forced into it. Oh, by the way, don't worry. I have no feelings for Zhou Song. I lowered my head, using the moment of drinking water to hide my reddened eyes. I'm not jealous of you, I whispered. You're naturally better than me. You're gentle, reserved, and intelligent, well-mannered and sincere with others. Aunt Wang raised you well, and I'm genuinely happy when Mom and Dad praise you. You're my childhood playmate, and even though we were apart for a few years, I know I can't be wrong about you. Chiyu remained silent. Only the slight trembling of her lowered lashes betrayed her. Suddenly, as if remembering something, I hurriedly asked, wait, what did you mean earlier by game over? Just what it sounds like, Chiyu said casually. I terminated the mission. The supporting female character can't terminate the mission, but I can. I was stunned. But in that case, what you've done before, it doesn't matter. Chiyu smiled. Would my life really be over if I didn't bind with this system? This society always finds ways to drive women apart. But I just don't want to go along with his wishes. Ever since that day, Chu Yu's luck seemed to take a turn for the worse. In various competitions, she always fell just short of winning awards, and even her part-time jobs nearly left her unpaid. In the end, it was Shenjua who stepped in and beat the boss to a pulp. On the day Chu Yu finished her internship, I was at home cooking, waiting for them to come back for dinner. I was busy in the kitchen with Aunt Wang, while Shenjua and the others wanted to help but were shooed away by me. Only Zhou Song stayed to assist me. Don't come in and make a mess. We'll be eating soon. Chuyu and Shenjua sat on the sofa, watching the busy figure in the kitchen. Shenjua casually scratched his ear and said, I don't know why she's become like this, but it's not bad. The Shenfu from childhood was so innocent and kind. They absolutely refused to believe she could turn bad. The only possible explanation is that she's been possessed by something unclean. Chiyu raised an eyebrow. If you like her, why don't you confess? Shenzhuo was left speechless by the question. If I like money, why don't I rob a bank? Is it because I don't want to? Chiyu scoffed without saying a word. Shenzhuo, I always find you quite strange too. Why do you like staying at my place so much? Chiyu lowered his eyes to drink water. Definitely not because of you, he sighed again. But if you don't date anyone, won't your parents pressure you? Chiyu rose leisurely. Not all emotions in this world must culminate in romantic partnerships. You should understand that better than I do. Besides, aren't you also not in a relationship? This time, it was Shinjua's turn to laugh. Of course, after all, it's a bond of over 10 or 20 years. How could someone else replace or take over in just a few months or years? Their gazes met. Filled only with mutual pity for each other's shared plight. Time to eat. Shenfu emerged from the kitchen, beaming as she carried a tray of food. I've made everyone's favorite dishes. Chuyu, Zhou Song, my brother, Aunt Wang, and Uncle Lu. Chuyu and Shenzhuo exchanged glances, then smiled helplessly. Never mind. What else could they do? Zhou Song could only pray to live a little longer, lest the opportunity fall into their hands. Such companionship, how could it not be considered another form of reunion in its own way? After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.